This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter. And, no, that's not as good. We need something for a cowbell.
Oh, hold on. Well, I guess I'm going to have to, one of these days I'll have to use Ryan's sample.
Yeah, I think so. There you go.
There you go. Perfect. My name is Rob Minot, and recording here from the Anti-Gloom Zoom Room. Not the Guitar Dungeon. And with me today, Mr. Steve Barclay.
Good day, all.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. I actually got out of the house today. I had a customer call and say that their large print system wasn't working. Walked them through. They said it couldn't turn it on. Walked them through checking the plug, checking the two parts of the plug, because it's a two-part plug where the plug from the wall plugs into a box, and then the box has a cord that plugs into the back of the unit. Walked him through all that, couldn't figure out what was going on. Got there. He was elderly. He'd forgotten the power button.
Oof. Was it a long drive?
Well, it was, from Burnaby to downtown Vancouver, so,
That's long enough for a power button.
Yeah, about an hour round trip, I guess.
Yeah, that's always. I guess that's got to be generally the first question. Is it on?
And it wasn't.
Oh, that sounds like a delightful day. But at least you got out of the house.
I did.
And you've been having now at Canas Tech. You guys have been doing a virtual pub night. I noticed last night. I dropped in for a while. That seems to be a big hit.
Yeah, it's been going really well. It's getting a little raunchy, I think.
That's why people were still in there at 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock, they were still there.
People just sort of wound down. I checked it at 10.
No kidding! Wow,
yeah.
That's the longest one yet. Then, because I think the longest one to date was until around 9 o'clock. So we started them at 5 Pacific, and anybody who's on our mailing list gets the invite to it. So if people are interested, get on the Canas Tech mailing list.
Wow. Well, hey, listen, guess what, Steve?
What, Rob?
We have a guest today.
No kidding.
Can you believe it? We have somebody else here with us in the Anti-Gloom Zoom Room.
We lured somebody out of their isolation. Who would be so crazy as to risk interacting with us virtually?
Well, let me tell you, old friend of the show, Shawn Marsolais, who is the founder and executive director of Blind Beginnings, as you well know.
Welcome, Shawn.
Thank you. It's been hard for me not to laugh at all your banter leading up to now.
Funnily enough, our audience does not have that problem generally, especially our last episode was a jokes episode. Oof.
Oh, no,
well,
really?
Did you put the laugh track in? You were supposed to put in a laugh track.
I know, but here was the funny thing about it. I started putting in laugh tracks behind every joke, and they were actually funnier without the laugh track.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. Anyways, it's been so long since we've had a guest in here. I don't think we've had a guest since this whole COVID thing.
Oh, wow. Am I the only brave soul?
I think so.
You are, yep.
How exciting.
I know. Now, mind you, you're the only one we've invited to, so other people might be brave, but mostly we were just talking about the darn virus and what it was doing to us and all of that stuff, and now we're ready to move on. The jokes episode was me finally putting my foot down and saying, no, I just don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, funnily enough, my first question is, so how about that virus? How about that virus?
Shut up! Shut up!
Whether you want to talk about it or not.
I can't take it no more.
No. Okay. Well, why don't you know what? Let's because we've had you on a couple times before, but let's revisit a little bit. Give us a little bit of a snapshot of what the organization does.
All right, sure. So Blind Beginnings was founded in 2008, so we're 12 years old now. And basically, the whole purpose, goal, mission is to help children and youth who are blind or partially sighted reach their full potential. So we have programs for the kids and the families, the parents, the siblings, ranging from workshops, support groups, summer camps, community discovery outings, youth leadership, pre-employment programs. So quite a wide range of programs and support, and working with kids and families all across BC.
And you've been really making some waves out there too, because people keep talking about you.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that.
They use words like wonderful, amazing.
Who
so cool.
uses those words?
The people you'd want to write letters but don't.
Okay, great. Well, that's pretty good though.
So how are you coping in this complete change and shift in what you do? Because obviously you can't have the kids coming into you and you can't be going out to the kids. So how are you managing?
Yeah. So the first 2 weeks this happened, it was spring break, and I have a 6-year-old. So I was kind of trying to be a full-time parent and work from home at the same time. And it was not good. And that whole 2 weeks, I was just like racking my brain for, okay, what can we do now? Right. This is all the things that are planned are not going to happen. So how do we move forward? And by the end of that 2 weeks, I had something for almost every day of the week. And I decided that they would be offered weekly, each of those programs. And so we kicked off kind of that week that everybody was supposed to go back to school with this whole range of workshops and support groups for kids, youth. We have a 19 plus support group, and parents. And yeah, we've been going full tilt ever since. So I actually feel almost busier than I was before, except my travel time's way down. So that's nice.
Yeah, I was talking to some teachers of the visually impaired, and the same feedback pretty much. They've never been busier. It's never been weirder, and no travel time.
Mm-hmm. I leave my little office upstairs and I come downstairs and say, "Hi, honey, I'm home." At the end of the day.
Well, you're lucky you've got an office, because I've got my computer in my living room, the back end of my living room, and that's where I've been working for the last couple of years. But Jackie's now home, my wife,
right,
and
yes.
She's taken over the dining room table, which is 10 feet away from me, and now we have to juggle who's on the phone, who can be on a podcast, who can be in a Zoom room.
Right.
Yeah.
That's tough, yeah.
Who's going to complain the most about the American exchange rate? Things like that.
How is she as an office mate?
She's pretty good. She talks a lot to herself, a lot more than I would have expected, and I think if I wasn't here, a lot of it would be talking about me like that. So I'm deeply suspicious, but it seems to be working out okay so far.
That's good.
So when this all broke out, I mean, was there a real sense of panic? Like, did you spend a day or two going, what the heck are we going to do? Or was this movement shift into online just sort of something that just sort of became apparent right away?
I sort of knew that. I mean, we've been trying to go online for quite a while, been running an online parent group once a month, probably for a year and a half, and it's been really poorly attended. In October of last year, we started doing creating confidence youth workshops once a month, and they were offered. People could come in person if they were local and wanted to, but they could also connect online. And for that workshop, actually, a lot of the kids were starting to choose online, even if they were local. So, but it was just a real slow burn, and it just wasn't really taking off. So in a way, this COVID crisis, like, I feel like maybe some people, they were so desperate to connect or for some kind of support that they were like, yeah, okay, I'll try this online thing. So we've been able to reach families that have never used our services before, which is really great. And then there were other things, I'm still thinking about summer camp. We don't know whether we'll be able to run it even on a small scale. And like, how do you do a summer camp virtually? I haven't really come up with the solution to that one. Our youth leadership training weekend was scheduled for April 17th to the 19th. And obviously we couldn't go ahead with that. So, we're kind of considering an online version, but of course it's not the same. Like, one of the best things of that program is kids get to leave their parents for 3 days and stay in a hotel and have freedom, right? So that doesn't really work online in the same way, and experience public transit and, order within a budget at the restaurant, and like all these life skills that are really hard to teach from remotely. So I don't know. I don't remember if I was panicked. It honestly feels like much longer than it has actually been. I feel like it's been half a year since this all started. I think I was just in a state of shock at first. And the biggest challenge for me was just personally, like, how am I going to homeschool my kid and be a parent and work full time and offer all these programs? And I guess thankfully or not thankful, I don't know, it depends how you look at it. My husband was laid off, so he's now the full-time parent and the homeschool teacher and everything, which is great because I can focus on working. So it just made things so much easier for me when I didn't have to balance anymore, and I could just fully focus on helping Blind Beginnings families. And a lot of people are really struggling. A lot of families we work with have kids with really complex medical conditions. It's not just vision that they're dealing with, and there's no respite now. You can't even get grandma or grandpa to babysit, right?
Right.
And none of the professionals are coming into their homes, so they're not getting the therapies that they're used to getting, and they're worried about delays in development and how is this going to impact their child long term. And then I've got youth who have compromised immune systems, who can't even cheat a little bit with being around anybody. The social distancing is really a quarantine for them, and that's really, really hard. So a lot of people are feeling really even more isolated than usual.
Well, on Tuesdays we have the Anti-Gloom Zoom Room. Send them over.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will speak politely in that one.
Well,
don't send them to the virtual pub night.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it PG-13 or like what? Well, what's the rating on your events?
The pub night is 19 plus. You got to be able to get into the pub.
Okay, good to know.
And we check ID at the door.
I have been wanting to attend that myself, but I have a 7:15 online parent group that night, and I feel like I need to show up to that with all my faculties. So.
What has the reaction been to all the new online programs? Were there high attendance right away? Were people kind of hungry for this?
Yeah, I think so. We had probably about 30 people respond within the first couple of days that we put the email out with sort of the overview of workshops, which for us is pretty good. It's been exciting to see people who never have come to Blind Beginnings before. So we have this 12-year-old in Pooskoopi, BC, which is a place I'd never even heard of, who's pretty much registered for everything we're doing except the parent programs, which he doesn't qualify for. So he's coming to everything, and he's obviously super keen. And it's awesome to see that we can offer something. I've got a couple kids from Victoria that are calling in, and actually my Kids Connect on Tuesday mornings is like a support group for kids age 7 to 12, which is an age group that, I don't know, even as a parent, I'm like, sending your 7-year-old off to a Zoom room seems a little bit with people you don't know, seems a little, I don't know how comfortable I would be with that. But I think people are just really desperate. So in that group, there's, one of the youth is from Penticton, a couple of them are from Victoria, and the other one is the kid from Pooskoopi. So they're all outside Metro Vancouver, and they're able to connect with each other and connect with me for the first time, which is just so great.
And it's interesting because, I noticed this sitting in the virtual pub night last night, Steve, is that, there's a real hodgepodge of people. There are people who are sighted, and there are people who are partially sighted, and people who are blind. And, they're all sort of sitting around talking together for hours, and of wild age ranges. You had 7-year-olds in there, and then you had 30-year-olds, and I don't know. I just felt like normally this would just not happen. And I think that people just across the board are sort of embracing this idea of the Zoom room, or of virtually connecting a lot more. And so it's going to be interesting to see, once this all plays out, if that sort of is something that remains in our culture. And we see more of this, because I think there is a real benefit, especially for people who are in remote areas, who generally don't get a chance to connect socially with other people, because they're just not well attended. So hopefully, like these programs that you're talking about, Shawn, hopefully that going forward, even past this is something that can continue sort of building momentum and sort of keep going, in addition to actually getting together physically at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's been our goal to be more provincial and reach families outside of Metro Vancouver for a long time. And this is the first time that I feel like we're actually making some ground there. And I think for our families with those medically complex kids, even if they are local, sometimes it's just too much to try to get their whole family out the door and come to a program. And so, now they can attend Baby Beginnings from the comfort of their home. And actually, the first week we ran it online, I had 2 families, both with twins. I don't know, it's just so cool. Of the 4 families that were there, 2 of them happened to have twins that were basically the same age, and were able to connect, and they had never met before, right? So, and they're both local families, but they just had not seen each other. So it's really exciting.
It's nice to be able to connect people like that and be able to have them share their experience.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when most of the time they feel like they're the only one, and they feel like no one else's story is anything like theirs. So
yeah.
So maybe to spend a little bit of time talking about the actual programs. Like, what are some of the online programs that you're currently running?
Yeah, okay. So Monday, and don't judge me for my names because some of them weren't brilliant, but I didn't have my new communications coordinator yet, so no help with this. So Meet a Youth Monday, where I'm interviewing one of our youth leaders who've been in the program for a long time, just having them talk about, I know them all pretty well, so I can ask them questions about things they've done as volunteers, or programs they've attended, or if they're really into music, or if they're really sporty, or if, they've traveled, then I'm asking them about those things. And so anybody can Zoom in and join the interview. And then at the end of my questions, I open it up to the group and they can ask questions as well. And then Tuesdays are our Seeing Things Differently support groups. So we've got the Kids Connect for kids 7 to 12, and then we have Teen Time for kids 13 to 18, and then we have our 19 plus group for some of those youth leaders who've been around for a long time who really need some support right now. Wednesday is What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up Wednesday? And I'm interviewing a working adult who is blind or partially sighted about their job. So we've had somebody who works at Darktable, we've had a massage therapist, we've had a public relations person, and we've had an author so far. So every week it's a different person with a different job, and same thing, I interview them and then the kids can ask their own questions. Thursdays, we're partnering with PRCVI, the Provincial Resource Center for the Visually Impaired, for accessible story time. This has been super popular. So the staff at PRCVI are reading stories to the kids through Zoom. And after each story, we unmute and they can ask questions. But obviously the stories are all described and, lots of concept description as well. So if there's things that the kids don't understand, they can ask questions about that. And then Thursday night is my virtual Parents Night Out, which is an online support group for parents. And then Friday is Fitness Friday. And so we have 2 classes on Friday mornings. We have a kids sort of beginners class for kids 12 and under, and then the teen and adult class, which is a little bit more advanced. And we have a yoga instructor and fitness instructor, same person, dually certified, who happens to also be visually impaired. So she's leading the class, and she's pretty great at describing the exercises and stuff. So it's pretty easy to follow along. And then Saturday mornings is Baby Beginnings, and that's for families with kids 5 and under. And they connect with each other, and usually with a vision specialist, early intervention specialist from the Vision Loss Rehab BC. So, and myself. So yeah, it's a full week.
Fantastic.
Oh wait, there's more. I made notes. Once a month, we're doing, instead of our Creating Confidence workshop, I decided that they're getting enough workshop-y stuff through the Monday and Wednesday programs. And maybe and I know because the kids are telling me through the support groups that what they really miss is seeing their friends. They really miss that social connection. So once a month on a Friday night, we're also doing a Creating Connections program. So we did our first one last Friday, and some of the youth leader volunteers actually helped to create a Jeopardy game where they made up the categories and they made up all the questions. And then the youth, all the kids joined on Friday night, and we played Jeopardy, and it was actually really fun. So yeah, we're doing that once a month too. And then I'm also just brainstorming, like, how can I do outings, community discovery outings virtually? So normally our families would all get together and go to like a farm or something and, check out the animals and get a ride on the tractor and, I don't know, explore the corn maze or whatever. And that would be an outing that we would do. But now, if we can't do that, is there a way to do an outing where we're all kind of at home? So I'm working on that. We didn't run one at the end of April, but by the end of May, maybe we will. So I really do have to get creative and think outside the box. And yeah, it's challenging. And people don't necessarily want to be on another Zoom meeting either, right? So it's kind of like, how do you offer something different? Yeah. I mean, I'm also thinking things like, why don't we all make Rice Krispie squares together? So here's the ingredients that you need. We're going to tune in at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we're going to talk you through, and everybody's going to make their own in their own kitchens. But then at the end, we can eat them together, like stuff like that, where it's a little more hands-on.
Yeah.
It's just tricky because do people have the ingredients, or I don't know, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, and you'd feel bad sending people out for the ingredients these days.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
See, and that must be the real challenge behind all this is that, it's easy to come up with these ideas, but then the virus and the situation just makes everything so complicated. Is that kind of one of the hurdles that you've been finding in creating new content?
Partly that. I think the biggest thing is that people have lost complete track of time. So we have all these awesome programs, but so often people will say, oh, I thought it was Wednesday, but it's only Tuesday and I missed it, or I lost track of time, or I fell asleep, or whatever, right? So people I'm like so scheduled because I have so many of these appointments now that I have to be there, but most of the world isn't. One day is blending into the next. So I don't know if our attendance goes down, is that just because people are done with this now? They don't need it anymore. They're bored, or is it like they forgot?
That's why I've been doing the reminders for the pub night and for the Anti-Gloom Room. So I send out the initial stuff early, so that they can put it on their calendar if they want to, and then I do a follow-up email the day of. Just to sort of give them a nudge to say, hey, it's today.
Yeah, we've been doing it the night before. I wonder if we should do it same day, because I
think same day is a better way of doing it.
Yeah, we should try that.
Yeah, and just a little ways in advance of the event, maybe a few hours at most.
Right.
Just to really remind them. I worry because I've been sending out. I've been sending out information about those, the pub night, the Anti-Gloom Zoom Room, but I've also been echoing stuff that I've been running into across the web that other people are doing. Like
Mhm.
National Braille Press in the States did a poetry reading, I
Yes.
think, on Sunday. There was or when did they do that? I don't remember. There was a theater group that did a Midsummer's Night's Dream.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to send these things out to our mail list to let people know, hey, there's these things going on if you want something to do. But now I'm worried that I'm just bombarding people with emails and
I know.
maybe
Yeah.
hitting them too much.
Yeah.
And all it takes is that one little annoyance to click on that unsubscribe button.
Yes,
You can't talk to
totally.
them anymore.
Yeah,
So.
I feel the same way. It's a balancing act, right? You want people to be informed, but not get sick of you.
Yeah. You know what you could really use to really help inform those decisions is some sort of communications directors.
Well, funny you should mention that because we had one start just last week.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think you know him. He's. I was gonna say he's sitting beside you, but virtually.
Yeah.
Yes, they're talking about me, fine folks.
Yeah, we're very excited to have Rob join our Blind Beginnings team.
Yeah, Rob has left the junior leagues and is now
come on
playing in the pro leagues.
I can't believe I'm being referred to as the pro leagues. That's wow. You've arrived when.
That's right, when Barkley says it. Exactly. Listen, it's been an honor to join the team, and it's been a wild ride so far. It's week 2, and last week we had National Volunteer Week.
Yeah.
And this week we have something that we'll talk about in a minute.
Hey everyone, Ryan from Canadian Assistive Technologies here to tell you about a product called WayAround. WayAround consists of a free iOS or Android app, or the optional WayLink scanner that connects to your phone via Bluetooth to identify and label items around your home or office. Using the Way tags that come in the form of stickers, buttons, magnets, and clips, you can label just about anything you can think of, such as clothing items, products in your fridge or freezer, plants in your garden, recipes, and so much more. I've used the Way tags to label my Blu-ray movies and my vinyl LP collection. If you'd like to find out more information about the WayAround product, please visit us online at www.canasstech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com, or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. Thanks for listening.
It's funny. I feel like once we get on the other side of all this, I feel like people are either going to embrace Zoom as a new way of life and stuff, or people are just going to, by that time, they're just going to have had it with Zoom, and they're never going to want to enter another Zoom room as long as they live.
Well, I hope that's not the case. I hope it is. I'm already kind of thinking about after, but I feel like after is probably quite a ways away still. But maybe the interim after of like, okay, I was a little overzealous with my once a week for 10 programs. And I'm, thinking, okay, maybe every 2 weeks for some of the stuff and every week for a few things. But, and then which ones make sense? Like Fitness Fridays, giving people who are blind or partially sighted an opportunity to work out with somebody who knows how to explain exercises, for example. Like, who wouldn't? I think that would be really popular and has potential to keep going. And the accessible story time people are loving as well. So why couldn't we do that every week? And those families who do have kids with multiple challenges can tune in and their kids can enjoy the story and they don't have to leave home, right? So I think the families who really need it will continue to use it. And yes, there will be those people that probably never want to sit in front of their computer again, never mind a Zoom room. And they're just going to want to make those face-to-face connections.
But have you found that when it comes to creating and implementing some of these programs, is it easier to sort of try them online? So is it like a little bit easier to experiment and see kind of what kind of works or what gets a good response and what doesn't?
I mean, honestly, I feel like I've been trying things for 12 years. So whether it's online or in person, everything has been a bit of a, let's just give this a try and see if it's well received, see if it works. I do feel like I have less options online.
Right.
There's just less you can do, right? Some topics don't really work. And if you want any kind of hands-on experiential learning, I haven't figured that part out yet. So
Right.
yeah, it's like, I feel like there's not enough diversity in what we're offering. Maybe, like listening to interviews is interesting, but it's not very interactive. But if I want to do the interactive stuff, that's more challenging. So I kind of have to work up to that and plan more, make it more kind of workshop-y. So I don't know. And in the moment, it was just like, okay, I want to make sure that I can launch a bunch of stuff when school goes back or doesn't go back. And that's what I came up with, right? So now I'm sort of a few weeks into it thinking, I could probably revise this. I could probably improve that. I could probably do this less often. Maybe I could merge these two programs together. So I think it's going to evolve.
Yeah.
And it is totally just a trial and error, and what's working and what isn't.
Well, and I think that's a process that absolutely everybody's going through. I mean, nobody's really figured it out yet. Even regular schools, depending on what school district you're talking about, they're all trying different things and approaching this completely differently. I've heard lots of different stories from different people. So, nobody's really figured it out, and nobody really knows how this is all going to play out. So everybody's kind of in the same boat.
Yep, that's true.
The other thing I find with trying to do everything online is that you don't have reach beyond your lists, right? And you can ask people to share stuff, and they might, but it really limits the amount of outreach that you can do.
Yes.
It's really, really hard to find new people and new clients. So that's the part I'm struggling with, is how do we expand outward when we're hiding inside a tiny little bubble?
Yeah, it's hard for sure.
Yeah.
I think the pub night was a good idea. I think that's going to bring you new people. I feel like
I think it has been growing every week, Steve.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are actually sharing that one around. I'd say that one probably. I haven't gone back to look at the MailChimp numbers to see how widely spread it's been, but I know a lot of people are inviting their friends from the community into the pub night, and some names that I've never seen before are popping up in it. So it's cool.
That's great. Yeah.
But now talk to me a little bit about the parents support group then. It's like, how has that response been for you guys?
Yeah, it's been good too. I would say there's usually maybe 3 or 4 parents that are connecting for each group, but not necessarily the same 3 or 4 parents. So it's interesting, the combinations that come together. It always kind of blows my mind when there's 3 parents that join and I think, are they going to have anything in common? Are they going to connect? And then somehow they do. Like, they're either live in the same city, or their child has the same eye condition, or their kids are exactly the same age, or they're dealing with exactly the same developmental milestone. And it's really, I don't know, every time it's kind of magical to watch that happen. But we've had parents from all over the province with a range of different aged kids, and they're connecting. So the Thursday night, sometimes it goes on like 2.5 hours. They just keep talking, and I have to be the one to be like, sorry guys, I gotta go. And then again with Baby Beginnings, it's kind of another opportunity for those parents with younger kids to connect specifically. So they've kind of got that opportunity twice a week. It's been good.
If you didn't have another Zoom meeting scheduled, you could always assign host duties to one of the parents and leave.
That's true. I could do that.
Yeah.
I have thought, you see, this is the weird thing. I don't know how to ask them, and I don't know if my ego can take it, but do you guys just want me to not be here and you connect without me? I can just check in at the beginning and kind of take attendance and then scoot off. And But if they say yes, I'm probably going to be sad.
I wouldn't give them the option then. We don't want you sad.
Yeah, but maybe that's something even just like I'll stay for an hour and then I'll leave. And actually last week with Baby Beginnings at noon, I could tell there were two parents that wanted to connect. And I'm like, I just have to go check on my child. And I left them and I came back half an hour later and they were still talking. So I kind of left again. And then the next time I came back, they had hung up. But I think they do need that time too. If you were in person at the office, you could have a little side conversation with somebody, right? You could exchange contact info. It's hard to do that in a Zoom room. So trying to allow opportunities for that.
Yeah, that would be a great feature in a Zoom room to be able to have an aside conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can do breakout group rooms, but it's not spontaneous, or it's not.
Yeah. You can't poke
Pick
somebody and say, hey,
yeah. I want to be alone with you.
Yeah.
Oh God, don't do that at the Can-Aztec virtual pub night, whatever it is. It's just asking for trouble.
People hooking up.
This is crazy. Now, if I understand correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you have your big annual gala scheduled originally for this month?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm having a little sad about that for sure. Yeah, it was supposed to be tomorrow, May 2nd, and obviously we postponed it until November 9th, I think is the date. But we don't know if, I don't know. I don't know if we'll be able to have the gala in November. And we had already received a bunch of donated stuff for silent auction and our balloons and stuff. But, some of those businesses might not be in business anymore. And some of the P&E isn't running. And plus it's November, it'll already be over, and Bird on the Beach. And, some of those summer things that we might get passes to, but we won't be able to use even if we did get the passes. So we kind of have to evaluate how much stuff we actually will have by November, and will people want to come together, even if we're allowed to? Will anybody have any money to donate, right? Like, I don't feel great about needing to ask people to give, because I understand everybody's struggling. This is impacting everybody so much, but we also can't survive without that funding either. So it's just tough. It's really tough.
Well, there are businesses that are thriving in this. Don't forget. Like, if I were you,
like
I would
toilet paper business.
I would chase Scott Paper. Scott Paper should be giving money away, man.
Yeah, that's a good idea. See if they can sponsor our gala.
Wheat farmers, whoever grinds flour.
Yeah.
Robin Hood, they. Yeah.
And what's that? Hand sanitizer companies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and the liquor stores. Come on, let's not forget them.
Yeah, of
I think
course,
they're doing okay.
They are so doing okay.
I was actually up at the liquor store earlier this afternoon, and there was a lineup down the street to get into the place because everybody's socially distancing and they're only allowing so many in at a time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're doing a boom in business, no question.
Yeah.
See, once this all is done, it's going to be hairdressers and probably intervention counselors are probably going to be in big demand.
Yeah.
And nutritionists, like to try to correct people's eating. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and maybe fitness people, right?
Yep. Personal trainers.
Yep. And what doctor type is it that deals with livers?
Oh.
That's right.
Is that gastroenterologist? I can't remember.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, so now there is a rumor going around that this Tuesday there is something special happening. Can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah, so
see, Steve, that's why I'm being paid the big bucks as a communications director. Did you see that segue? You see how well that worked?
That
see how I set her up for that?
That was smooth as a baby's bum, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, so they are launching Giving Tuesday now as a little sort of subversion of Giving Tuesday that normally happens early December, right after Cyber Monday and Black Friday. So Giving Tuesday now is an opportunity for charities to reach out to their supporters and ask for some help. So we will be, of course, participating in Giving Tuesday now on Tuesday, and we'll be sending out information about that over the next few days as well, leading up to that. So we do hope that our goal is to raise $2,000 on Giving Tuesday now. And that's really to ensure that we're able to keep going with all of these new programs.
So you've got funding provincially now, right?
We have a bit of gaming funding. It's made like 10% of our income.
Oh, okay. So it's not a significant chunk.
No, most of our funding comes through grants and some through individual donations and then our gala. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge of, comes from all over the place, but those grants are for specific programs. So we're reaching out to those funders to say, hey, if we can't do camp this summer, are you expecting your money back, or can we use it for some of these online programs? But, things like travel and accommodations is going to be way down. But we still need to pay our rent and pay our staff and all of those costs that don't go away just because we're not using that office. We still have to pay for it, right? So, yeah, it's just finding that out. And we're applying for more grants all the time. And there is some money for sort of the COVID crisis, but because we don't feed people, we're not helping people stay alive. In some cases, we don't necessarily qualify for some of that relief funding. And yeah, it's just a different need. So we are actually applying for funding for more counseling. I am a registered clinical counselor, and counseling is a service that we've never had funding for, but have always kind of provided when asked. And I think a lot of people need counseling through this. This is a really difficult time. And so we want to be able to provide that. So we're hoping that we're going to get that funding, and that will pay for some of these support groups as well. So, but yeah, it's precarious.
Let me know if you get that funding, because I'll call you up and go, Jackie's being mean to me.
My cubicle mate is driving me crazy.
You're not supposed to do counseling for people you know. I might have to refer you.
Well, all right. Hey, I do have one idea, something that you might be able to do as a project with the kids. It's really stupid and simple, but it might actually be kind of fun.
Okay. Making
sourdough starter.
Everybody's on this making bread kick. Yeah.
Everybody's on this kick, but making sourdough starter is this, if unless you've got the flakes to start a sourdough starter, the way you do it is you just throw some flour, about half flour, half water, and you mix it up, and then you let it sit, and then what is it, a week? I'd have to look it up again. I've never done it completely from scratch, but you throw out like 90% of it, and then you add some more flour and water, and then you let it sit. And you're basically just waiting for bacteria to get in there and start fermenting the flour.
Okay.
And you've got to do it for, I think, about 3 weeks before you have a viable starter. You just got to keep every couple of days or so. Again, I'd have to look it up, but you just keep removing the majority of it and then mixing in new flour and water, and eventually it'll ferment. Then you'll be able to tell by the smell, and if you can see them, the bubbles.
Right.
But at the end of that, you can throw in a bunch more flour and water and a little bit of salt and roll it into a ball and let it rise for a few more hours and stick it in the oven and see how you do.
Huh. Yeah. Is it really that easy? That sounds very easy.
It's not that hard. There's a little bit of kneading involved in it to get it to all come together, and there's a lot of sticky hands involved, but it's kind of fun, and if it works out, it's quite rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't work out, like most of mine, it can be bad. I've had my last two. I had one that was a curling rock, and I had one that was mostly a pancake.
Oh dear!
A very, very, very crusty pancake. So still working on it.
Right. So maybe I shouldn't take the recipe from you then.
Yeah, I wouldn't use my recipe. No.
But wait. So what is this, bread?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Sourdough
really?
bread.
I see. I knew there was a good reason I didn't like sourdough bread. That sounds terrible. Is that how they make it? They let it ferment and rot?
No, they let it ferment, not rot.
Oh, okay, well, it's kind of same thing.
Hey, alcohol is fermented,
Oh, this is
and
true.
you like that, I bet.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. You got me on that one.
That's essentially what sourdough is. It's just bread with alcohol.
Okay, well, now that's better. You're selling it better. Should do their marketing. So, Shawn, where can people find out more information about Blind Beginnings, and if they want to donate, where would they go?
blindbeginnings.ca, and all the information is there on our website. But also follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. The more followers, the better. And we also I have a Blind Beginnings Facebook group, a closed group for parents of blind kids, so across BC. So that's specifically for BC families, but if anybody wants that, you can find me at Shawn@blindbeginnings.ca or through the website.
Can people from outside BC access any of these things?
Not currently. We have had a few people reach out for the Fitness Fridays, for example, and Accessible Storytime from the States. And we kind of made the call that it's just for BC families because our funders are sort of funding a BC charity. So we have to be a little careful about that. Who knows in the future? But at this point, yeah, it is specifically for BC families.
Good to know.
Sorry to the rest of the country.
Rest of the world.
Rest of the world, sorry. I didn't, yes, of course your listenership, if that's a word, is global now, right?
That's right.
There's at least one person somewhere outside of the U.S. and Canada.
That makes it global then. You're good.
We're not sure who they are, but we're pretty sure they're out there somewhere.
That's great.
There's someone from Botswana going, damn it.
They're on to me.
Well, listen, Shawn, thanks so much for joining us, being our first guest in the Anti-Gloom Zoom Room. Thank you
for having me.
Our new hangout for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, hey, Steve.
Yeah, Rob.
Where can people find us?
Well, they can find me at my place, you at your place, Shawn at her place. That's pretty much it, I think. You just stay the hell away.
But what about online, Steve?
Oh, online. Oh, we're all over the place online. Let's see. There's the Facebook group. There's the Instagram group. There's the Twitter group. Oh, you can go to atbanter.com.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. That's right. And they can even drop us an email if they so desire. Cowbell.
Bing.
At atbanter.com.
Ryan's still got my cowbell.
You need that. It's not the same without it.
I think I'm going to have to order another cowbell just because I'd feel bad taking Ryan's cowbell away from him.
That's true. He would be crushed.
Yes,
and
true.
we've got our anniversary show coming up in a couple of weeks, so he's going to be needing it because he'll be actually back. So
that's right.
I think it's 2 weeks.
How many years anniversary is it?
Wow. Is it 4 or 5? I think it's 4.
Pretty sure it's 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised too. All right. Well, that is going to about do it for us this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Shawn, for joining us. And we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com, or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840, or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com.
Whoa, look at that. Master of the one take.